I took out a £10,000 loan. Within, I think, 3 months, I turned it into £3 million. So I just remember just hitting 1 million first, just looking at the figures on the screen. I was like, Mum, come up and look at this. So then it got to 2 million. And then I told my mum to start looking at houses. And then she started looking at houses and we were all looking together. So I settled on about 3.3 mil. And I was there for a good month, but I thought I was going to turn that 3 into 6. Yeah, I lost everything.
So what would be your advice to traders that need to forgive themselves?
I think we were all in denial. My mum was in denial, Dad was in denial, and they kept letting me do the same thing, like losing money for a good number of years. And I take full responsibility for that because I'm the one who made those decisions. But we were all just in that like toxic environment together.
In this episode of The Weight of the CPT Consistently Profitable Trader, we have Raihan, aka the Euro Trader. He is currently managing over 3.6 million in prop firm capital. Since starting with prop firms in May of 2023, he has amassed around 200K in verified payouts for multiple prop firms, trading Euro USD alone. With over 20 years of trading experience, Raihan shares how he developed his own proprietary trading strategy, how he made £3 million early in his career, and his approach to prop firm challenges and getting payouts. Without further ado, let's talk to Raihan. Before we get started with the podcast, I'd like to talk to you about Funded Next. Funded Next is a disruptor in the prop industry with two unique offerings. Number one, they're the only prop firm in the industry that pays traders 15% of their challenge profits. Traders generally don't like trading during the challenge phase because they don't actually earn any money. Funded Next has addressed traders' concerns by allowing them to earn money during the challenge. On average, traders earn 2 to 3 times the challenge fee when they successfully pass and get their first payout. For example, the cost of a 50K account is around $299 and the 15% profit split from passing the challenge is $975. It's a 1 to 3 ROI, not including the profits earned from the simulated funded account. Number two, they promise that traders will receive payouts within 24 hours from the request, or they will give them $1,000. This is a bold guarantee and sets them apart from many firms. Funded Next is one of the few prop firms that provides balance-based drawdown, and they emphasize that their trading conditions are amongst the best due to them owning dedicated servers for MT4 and MT5. They pride themselves on providing raw spreads and the lowest commissions in the prop firm industry. They also are expected to release an integration with TradingView in December, in which traders will be able to execute trades and do their charting directly from the Funded Next dashboard. If you want to take a challenge with a company that is disrupting the industry and creating opportunity globally, diversify or scale your prop firm accounts to new levels, get access to your account within seconds, and 10% off by clicking the link in the description. Welcome to another podcast episode, The Way of the CPT. We have Raihan Chowdhury, aka the Euro Trader. You're in for a treat with this podcast. And when I follow his story, I think about a quote from the book One Good Trade. In the book, Mike Bellafiore, he says, profitable traders always try to do the right thing and not make money. They are looking for the best risk to reward situations and they use them. Their focus is to make one good trade after another. Sometimes the results do not reflect back. Traders can lose temporarily, although they have done everything right. This cannot be avoided. In the long term, it pays off to always do the right thing strategically and implement it on the basis of a clear process every day. A long line of good trades will almost certainly lead to gains. Now, the reason I read this about is because you've been in the game for longer than many people have been alive, right? So I interviewed one trader that we know. He's actually 20 years old.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And you've been trading for 20 years.
I got into it 20 years ago. I've been trading full-time 15 years.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the ups and downs that you had.
Many downs.
Many downs, right? But I heard something here that he talks about in this quote here.
Yeah.
Your love for journaling and measuring.
Yes.
Right? So I see that over the long term, in the beginning you had ups and downs, but over the long term, you've been able to survive and persist, I believe, because of that, the habit of measuring and journaling. So we're going to get into that.
Okay.
But first off, I just want to say thank you.
No, I want to thank
Thanks
you
for
for having
joining,
me
man.
on, man. Like I just discovered you after I landed back from Dubai. I think the podcast with Pasquale came up on YouTube and I watched you. I was like, wow, this guy is different. He's doing it different to how everyone else is doing it. So eloquent and well articulated, and like the way you start from the childhood and you go through the whole journey. I really like that because it's not just about like payouts, and there's more perspective to it, and that's important for people to see. They need to see where a trader's been, because often on Twitter, for example, they just see the highlights, but they don't see the lowlights.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
So you need to see where traders come from, because that's the reason why he is where he is now.
Yeah. Same with IG. People just see Lambos and success, but they don't see the low lights, right? So let's talk about your childhood first. Can you tell me about where you're from, or maybe where your family's from? And
yeah, so I'm first generation British, born to my mother. First generation British, born to my dad. So our heritage is Bangladeshi. So my dad married my mum, I think in '84, came to England. So he was in a few countries before. He worked in Germany, then he was in America because his brother's there, my uncle. Didn't like it too much there. And then he came to England, and this is where he settled. I was raised in England, had a good childhood. My dad used to he works in the restaurant industry. He has his own restaurant now. He's had that for 30 years. But as I was growing up, he didn't have that business. So he used to work in restaurants and then eventually opened up his own one. And then I think he had 2 or 3 before he had the one that he has now. My mother never had to work. So she married really young. I think she married at 16. She married my dad. She had me at 18. So yeah, she stopped she wanted to be a nurse, I think. So I think she fell pregnant with me halfway through that course. And then, yeah, she just became a mother to me, focused on raising me and my 2 sisters. I'm the oldest, I'm the only son. And yeah, like my dad was quite traditional. He's done well enough in life where like my mother hasn't had to work. If she wanted to, she could have. So she really focused on like tutoring, getting us into the best schools. She wanted us to get like really good results. And yeah, it worked. I did really well at school, got like 7 A's at GCSE when I was 16. And then she did the same with my sisters. My sister got into like one of the top grammar schools in the country, and then another sister went to private school, the youngest one, because then my dad had more money back then. And she's done the same with her brothers, so she's big on education. Like she's helped train up one of their kids, and so that they all get into, like, every uncle has at least one child that's got into a grammar school because of my mother. So that's her legacy. So I'm really proud of that.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So leading up to like 17, right?
Yes.
Is when you started trading.
Yes, yeah.
Tell me, like a year or 2 before that, how things were going. Like, what was your perspective on life, on making money? Were you looking to uni, or were you looking to be an entrepreneur?
I was looking towards both. So I was in school. My aim was definitely to go to university. So I was the first in my family to go to university, on my mum's side anyway. Yeah, originally I thought I'd go into investment banking. That was the plan. So I did A-levels, in maths, physics and economics. And then I went to uni. Before I was 17, the 2 years leading up to 17. Yeah, so I was just focused on my studies, really. And I knew I wanted to go into finance. I remember picking up a copy of the Times, I think it was the Asian Rich List. I think I was about 15, 16. And I opened that and I saw these people from Bangladesh, where I'm originally from, India. I was like, these stories are so inspiring, they're amazing. And then I think that's what started my sort of quest for like financial freedom. They really inspired me, and I said I want to be in this one day. Like, it's not my goal anymore, but back then that's what motivated me.
So now 17, you were introduced to trading. Can you tell me about that? How?
Yeah, so it's my uncle, my mum's brother. His friend introduced him, and then he introduced me to it, and he had a spread bet, a CFD account with CMC Markets. He was teaching me like what one contract is. If you buy one contract and it moves 1 point, it makes you like X amount of dollars. And I think we used to trade on his account to start with. So we used to trade everything like stock indices, stocks, commodities, currencies. At the time, I remember we used to trade like RAM, Research in Motion. So that's who owned BlackBerry. So before the iPhone, it was the BlackBerry. Yeah, that was big. So that's what I had. So yeah, that's how I fell in love with technical analysis as well. That's when I started delving into that. So yeah, that. And then I was in college and we had this course offered to us as well. So I was 17 at the time. And it was called the City Trader course. I was like, wow, this is quite like out of the ordinary for a course, for them to offer something like that. I was like, well, this is like right up my alley. Let's try this. And basically, they taught us technical like chart patterns, basic stuff like head and shoulders, double tops, double
Really, in the
bottoms,
university?
wedges, pennants in college. So it's before university.
Okay.
And then we had a virtual league. So we were given 100 grand of virtual demo money, and we could invest in stocks from, I think there's a FTSE 100, FTSE 250 and the AIM. So I think that's the one just below. And I was top of that league. So I just took to it naturally. Yeah. So we had 100 grand, and like out of my class, I think it was 6 or 12 week class, and like I was top of that league with that 100 grand demo money for like, and then that just solidified I knew this is what I wanted to be, a trader.
Yeah. So how old were you at that time?
17.
So that's all in 17.
Yeah.
Now, so from 17, you were trading in demo. When did you actually start like live trading with live money?
So we were live trading with my uncle's money as well in his account. So he would let me trade it and he'd trade it. And he always used to say to me, I think you've got that special something. I don't know what made him think that, because I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. But yeah, he just saw something in me, and then I fell in love with it. And I knew that's what could give me what I wanted in terms of like time freedom, financial freedom. I just knew it's what I wanted to do, because I wanted to be like my father. I wanted to be my own boss. I never wanted to work for anyone. And I think, and I just love trading as well.
Yeah.
Like I actually love the process of trading.
Yeah.
A lot of people say they find it boring because it's mechanical, and once you get your strategy down, it should be boring, which is true to a degree, but I actually love the process of the whole journey and the analysis, the back testing, the journaling.
Wow, yeah.
I have a big passion.
Yeah, we'll dive deep into that. Yeah. So where do you see your first big win?
Yeah, so it's when I started trading full time at 22. So I just completed my master's in investment and finance. And then I went to do, I did 3 months at an accountancy firm, work experience. I think it was my dad's accountant. He had a firm. I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. Like, this is boring, it's monotonous and tedious. And trading's different, right? It's fun. Every day's different. Literally no day's ever the same. So I said to my parents, I wanna start trading, full time. And they're fully supportive of me. They're like,
they were fully supportive.
Fully supportive at the start.
That's amazing. Why? Why were your parents so supportive? Is that they were always supportive of you growing up, or did you prove something to them at the time?
I think it was a bit of both. So they had faith in me. They knew like I was smart. Obviously, I'd been trading in the run up to that, on and off, like learning as much as I could. So they just had faith in me, and yeah, they just fully supported me. And they said, look, whatever way you can make money is what I remember my dad saying. If it makes you money, then I support you.
Yeah. And then why did you have the courage to go full time? Was it profits that you made in your uncle's account, or?
Yeah, so we'd made profits. We were up and down, but I knew if I tweaked a few things, like those 5 years, I'd just been working on my strategy. It's very different to how I trade now. So I used to be in a trading room. So that was like my first mentor, you could say, where my love of fibs came from, Fibonacci. I'd had some successes. So I think I made about 200K on a few currency trades when I was very young, yeah.
Wow, and that's in that 5 year period.
Yeah, so it was like just before I started at 22. So there was the S&P 500, and I think it was euro, pound, dollar. This was with CMC Markets at the time. And I'll never forget it, because as soon as I made that money, I remember having a call from them, from CMC, and they said, oh, we're not offering that product anymore. I was like, wow.
They honored the payout, but they said they're discontinuing the product.
Yeah, so it was euro dollar futures, I think, at the time. So I was like, I didn't know about A book, B book at the time.
Right.
And so obviously they didn't have the processes in place at the time as a broker, where basically they wanted me to lose that benefited
Absolutely.
them.
Yeah.
So then I switched to IG in 2008. And that's when I started full time at 22.
So talk to me a little bit about that 200K payout.
Yeah.
How much capital did you start with? Like, did you have a big amount, and that 200K was a small percentage of it, or
I think
did you
it was
just scale
between
up a small amount?
Yeah, it was like 5 to 10K.
Really?
Yeah.
5 to 10K, and you compounded that up, or was that like
it was a few trades?
You were adding.
I was adding on the way. Yeah, it was
a
a few trades. Like I had no risk management then. I didn't know anything about position sizing. It was, you could say it was luck. I was good at entering, but I wasn't good at risk management and exiting. And I lost that money in the end anyway, so I had to start again.
This is after you went full time?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
I've lost money so many times, I've lost count now.
So, all right, you made the 200K.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a confidence booster, really.
Yeah.
That's a confidence booster to say, hey, I'm going full time with this.
No, yeah, and I knew, okay, even if I lost it, like I knew I could repeat that process and I could keep doing it again and again. But the problem was early on in the journey, I could never hold on to it.
Could never hold on
So
to
I
it.
knew I was good at making money, but I didn't have the risk management or the discipline to hold on to it because I was greedy. I was young, naive, I was greedy, and I just wanted to keep doubling it, keep like exponential gains. But as we know, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
you were learning from your uncle, as well as this trading room you mentioned. What was the trading room? Was that
So that
a
was
paid mentorship?
Yeah, it was a live trading room. So I actually didn't learn from him. He just taught, like he introduced me to it, and I basically taught myself self-taught.
Self-taught.
Yeah, so I was
Autodidact.
just going on websites. Like there was one, rebeltraders.net. He was certified analyst for technical analysis. I think in America there's some certifications you can get to be a certified technical analyst on the charts. So that's where I learned the basics of charting. And then the trading room was eminiaddict.com. So David Halsey, he's from Chicago. He was my mentor, I guess you could say, from 2008 to 2012. Although it wasn't personal mentoring, it was just a chat room, and he'd have his charts live up, and he'd do like a couple of webinars every week. And then, yeah, that's where I just fell in love with fibs, because I could see there was something to it, and I could definitely get in and make money with it. But I just needed to sort out the other side, like the exit side and risk management and all of that.
So I have 4 pillars that I talk about: playbook, risk management,
Yes.
the psychology, like the mindset of a winning trader, and execution, right? So in this first 5 years, I hear like playbook. You're building your playbook. You learn fibs. You have a mentor. Like you said, your risk management wasn't there at the point, but you were building your playbook. Then you go live because you have some positive affirmation to your skill, or you go full time. Sorry, you go full time because of positive affirmation. So tell me what happened then. 22, you go full time. Tell me, like in the first 2-3 years, like did you have success or?
Yeah, it was up and down. So I'd make money, then lose it, make money, lose it, basically just break even for the whole period. And then I'd just keep going back to the drawing board and just refining. And then I'd think, okay, now I'm going to make it. Now I'm going to make it. But then I'd lose it again. But okay, now I am going to make it. Because that's what you do, right? Like we're optimists. As humans, we're optimists. We always say it's going to turn out all right. We never say, oh, we're going to lose, do we? It's just human nature. So yeah, in 2010, so 2 years in, I decided I took out a £10,000 loan, personal loan. And then within, I think, 3 months, I'd turned it into £3 million. It's crazy because even just saying it makes me laugh.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
So from 10K to £3 million.
Yeah, so the first stage was I turned it into about 200,000. And then basically I risked like almost that whole amount on the S&P 500. So I saw a long opportunity. I think it was Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Ben Bernanke was giving his annual speech. And I think S&P was at 1050, there or thereabouts. Between 1,000 and 1050, my targets were 1,300. And I went long, I think it was like £10,000 across a few asset classes. So every point it moved, I think I was making £10,000. And I only had like a 15 pip stop. So if I'd have got hit stop loss, I'd have lost 150K out of the 200 and I'd have been left with 50. But it worked.
Man. So that experience, you had to have had a big rush to see those numbers like going.
Absolutely.
As the numbers were going up, I'm sure that was like a rush for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So once you made the £3 million, what were your thoughts at the time?
So I just remember just hitting 1 million first, just looking at the figures on the screen. I was like, Mum, come up and look at this.
You told your mom to come over?
Yeah, I was like, look at this. Just because they knew I was trading. They're like, oh my God. And then it got to 2 million. And then like I told my mum to start looking at houses because I wanted to buy a house because I lived at home, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And that was my dream, to buy a home for my parents. And then she started looking at houses, and we were all looking together, like in Emerson Park, Chigwell, like nice areas in Essex. And because I settled on about 3.3 mil, and I was there for a good month or so. So we were looking at homes in that time. Yeah, it was just a crazy rush, but I thought I was going to turn that 3 into 6. Like this was where I went.
That's where
wrong.
you were,
yeah.
right? So that's one trade. You went from.
No. So I was in trades on the S&P 500, pound dollar, euro dollar.
Okay. All 3 of those were moving.
Yeah, so I think across everything it was like over £10,000. Like every point or pip it moved.
Wow.
1 point for the S&P, and yeah, it was mad. So I made like a few 100,000 on the currencies, but the bulk of it, like a few million, was on the S&P 500.
Y'all were looking at houses, and did you buy a house?
No, because I'd lost the money then so this is where like a lot of pain comes in for me, and
so you lost the 3 million.
Yeah, I lost everything. Because I was adding on the way up, and then as soon as the market retraced, it just was like a pack of dominoes. And I was waiting. So I came from 3 million to 2.5 to 2 to 1, and then I remember I was on like 250K, and my mum was like, "Just exit. Why are you still in? You've got $250,000. That's still life-changing money." But my perception was so distorted because I'd seen 3 million, and you start making plans in your head for that 3 million. You don't accept nothing less than that.
Yeah.
So then even if I'd have got back to 1 million, I'd have still tried to get to 2 or back to 3 because I'd made plans in my head for that amount of money. And then I watched it come down to 50, like 150, and then it came to 0. And I remember just being there in my bedroom at my desk, just staring at the screen, and like the room was just spinning. I was like, what have you done? So yeah, like there's not a day that I don't think about that moment. Even I'd say I'm starting to get over it now because I've had such a good year. But for the last 13 years, there's not a day where I've not woken up and not thought back to 2010. Really? It's just imprinted on my memory.
So if we stop here, just for a minute, how will you advise traders who've made a mistake? Maybe you weren't in a professional environment, right, to learn risk management. These professionals have risk managers. If they see the account declining at a certain point, they have risk managers that will shut the MT4 down or MT5, whatever trading station, right, they have. So you didn't have that, right?
Yeah, and also there wasn't like Twitter, there wasn't much on YouTube. There wasn't many resources back then either that you have now.
So what would be your advice to traders that need to forgive themselves? Because it seems like you had to go through a process of forgiving yourself, making 3 million. You have your family planning, they're making plans. That's life-changing money. How are you going through that process personally?
First of all, don't do what I did because I spent about almost 10 years going in the same loop. So after I lost that money, I borrowed more money and I lost that. And then I took credit cards and I lost that. I borrowed from my parents, I borrowed from my partner at the time. I took more loans out from the bank, like payday loans. I was in a very dark place for a very long time. I think it was probably extended as well because there was still no pressures on me, I would say, at that time, because I lived at home. Like I didn't have a job, I wasn't working. I just worked at my father's restaurant on the weekends. So I don't want to blame them. I take all the blame, but that definitely prolonged that period of pain because I think we were all in denial. It wasn't just me.
Yeah.
My mum was in denial.
Interesting.
My dad was in denial. They kept letting me do the same thing, like losing money for a good number of years. And I take full responsibility for that because I'm the one who made those decisions. But we were all just in that like toxic environment together. So like I had to leave that, and only actually left it 5 years ago. Yeah.
Why do you think you all collectively were in denial to a certain degree? Is it because you all saw it?
Yeah. So my mum saw it. We'd seen those houses. I think she couldn't let go as well. So I think she was secretly hoping I would make it back.
Yeah.
And then I would put that pressure on myself. So you got to remember I'm the only son and I'm the oldest as well. And in Asian families, that carries a lot of pressure. So yeah, I just put immense pressure on myself. I always have done, by the way. I'm my own worst critic, even now. But if it wasn't for that character that I have, I wouldn't be where I am now. So yeah, I was in a toxic environment from 2010 to like 2018, 19. And I was just doing the same thing over and over again. I just wasn't making the necessary changes because I was like, I wasn't quite in a depression because I'm quite strong. Because a lot of people, they say, how did you get through it, Ryan? I always say first thing was self-belief. Eventually, I lost all the belief of my family and my partner, as you can imagine. I mean, if that was my son, I would have lost belief in them as well. Everyone was telling me to go get a job and I kept refusing. I was very stubborn. And also, I think I was scared because I had this huge gap right after uni. So I was like, what am I going to show to employers? I can't go into the career path that I would have done, like investment banking, because they're going to say, okay, you're like 30 plus years old now. You graduated at 22. What have you done for 8, 9, 10 years? So I'd have had to have started from the bottom, like an admin job or something.
I don't think the majority of people have spent 10 years. No. Your story is motivating because maybe they've spent 3 or 4 months trying to get over a loss. Like, what would be your advice to them?
You have to move on. You have to have, the first thing is self-belief. You have to have persistence. Do you have a trading plan? I didn't have a trading plan. I thought I had a trading plan. I just had a strategy. A trading plan and a trading strategy are two very different things, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like includes trade execution, your risk management, your journaling, back testing, all of that. So if you don't have a full trading plan in place and you're strategy hopping, so most people after a loss, they'll strategy hop, right?
Were you strategy hopping?
No, so I started with fibs. So I focused on that for the first till about 2015. And then I discovered Elliott Wave. So it was like components I was layering. So I mastered fibs and then I learned what I could on Elliott Wave. And I realized there was definitely something to structures, but it wasn't objective. So I wanted to develop a strategy that was totally objective and rules-based. So with the Elliott wave, you'll find after the move, they'll say, oh, it was maybe an impulsive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then afterwards, they'll say, oh, no, it was this. It was subjective. You can change it afterwards. So from 2015 to now, I've set about developing a strategy that is totally objective. And I've taken parts from fibs, from Elliott wave, and I've combined them. And now it's just completely clean charts and just based on candlestick structure. I'm the only person in the world, by the way, that trades the way I do.
Yeah. Okay.
So when I show it to people, they're like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. So it's fully just developed from the ground up.
Yeah. During this 10-year period, was it the lack of edge that you were losing, or was it risk management or psychology? What was the problem?
I think it was a combination. So my edge is definitely, this year's been a breakout year for me because my edge is super powerful now. So I always say journaling is my foundation. It's like my Bible. It's what I go back to. When I'm feeling unsure about the markets, I just open up my journal and then I feel good again. Like if you have a pyramid, right, that's the base layer. And then everything's built on top of there. So risk management. So I used to risk too much. I'd be risking like 3, 4, 5% a trade. So this was personal capital before props. I only started prop this year. So I'd be risking like, 5%, sometimes 10%. When I was flipping accounts, it could have been 30, 40%. So I had to sort out that. Psychology, to be honest, that's something I've discovered more recently. So I had a call recently with my good friend Rodrigo. You know Rodrigo.
Shout out to Rodrigo.
Yeah, he's been helping me out a lot because I still have issues with sleep. I only found out this year that trauma can cause insomnia, and it's definitely back. It started from 2010. So I'm lucky if I get 3 or 4 hours sleep a night. So yeah, I was always just very heavily strategy driven. And then I'd say only in the last 3, 4 years, 2019, I started journaling. So that changed the game for me.
That changed the game.
And literally just compounding that journal, adding to the journal and refining. My curve has just been exponential every year since 2019 to where I am now.
Wow. So 2010 to 2019,
yeah,
you lacked the journal and you were doing different things.
I was just writing rules for a strategy and that was it.
And that was it. No reflection, no measuring.
No, nothing, no risk management.
How did you decide to start journaling at that time?
So I think it was when I was kicked out. So I was kicked out by my parents.
By your parents.
Because they got fed up. So I had to get a job. So this was like 2018. I had to swallow my pride. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me, by the way.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's when I became a man from only the last 5 years. I'm a late bloomer.
We all have our journey.
But it doesn't matter. Yeah, everyone has their journey, right? So yeah, like I worked in facilities management. My girlfriend at the time, she works in that industry. So I was like, okay. So I got a help desk job. I was like 28K a year. So I was like, okay. But like I never, coming back home and studying, right? Because I knew I wanted to go back to the trading, or I was going to do it alongside the job. So like I'd be checking my phone, I'd be running to the toilet when I was in the office, checking the charts, and at home I was just doing my homework and just getting better. So yeah, I was in an Airbnb for 3 months. I didn't even have the money to rent a place, so I was sharing an Airbnb with a landlord, and he had sofa surfers, and it was a horrible place, man. It wasn't nice.
Man, sounds like a dark place, man.
It was really dark. Point. Oh, very low.
The concept of journaling, though.
Yeah.
Where did you get it from? Like, did you just say, hey, I need to review the last 10 years? How did you come up with that concept? Because it has to come from somewhere, right? Was it just an internal light, internal revelation that came to say, I need to just review the last 10 years? Or did you read a book or have a mentor or somebody from the outside?
No, so I had no mentor. Never read any books. Everything has just been self-taught and just through the internet. I'd say it was just self-revelation. I knew if I wanted to make it, I knew whether, I was going to be successful in trading. I didn't care if it took me another 20 years. That was the mindset I had. And now that I was having to pay my own bills and I was living on my own, trust me, that'll focus the mind quickly.
Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's all it took, right?
Yeah.
So if they'd have kicked me out maybe 10 years ago, I would have been, but I don't regret anything. I'm so thankful. It was all a blessing in disguise. Yeah, that's what it took for me to focus and zone in. And then I realized, okay, you're going to have to journal. You're definitely going to have to bring the position sizing down. I always knew that from the beginning, but for some reason I just couldn't. I just had this mental block. I was like, okay, even though I've been unlucky 1,000 times, one of them's going to hit like it did in 2010.
Yeah. Do you think that trading became sort of an addiction at any point?
Yeah, I think I'm still addicted to it now. Yeah, man. Like I always say, I can't see myself doing anything else. I will trade till as long as I'm cognitively able to. I will do this till the day I die if I can. I mean,
so once you did the review and the journaling, did you realize that you needed to increase the edge? Was it a psychology issue? Was it just the risk management? You mentioned risk management.
Yeah, so it was
what was the main things that helped turn everything around?
The strategy got better. I got way better with the strategy. And then within that, there's rules that I've journaled. So everything's mechanical now. So it forces discipline. So for example, I only trade the 4 hour and I only trade one currency pair. Entries and exits. Yeah, all
That's why you're the Euro trader.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I simplified it. Yeah, risk management's all built in. Invalidation levels are built in. It's a candlestick trailing method, so it can keep me in trends. So I spot swing reversals and retracements, and I have predefined targets as soon as I enter. So I would say mostly the strategy. That's why I'm so big on charts. And then the risk management came after. But a big thing was the access to capital. So that's where prop firms come in. But if I just go back to when I was trading personal, because I was withdrawing any profits I was making, so I started becoming profitable 2019. Obviously, because I was paying my own rent. So after the Airbnb, I got my own... I was in a house share. So then obviously I had to take money out, bills, groceries, all that stuff. So like anything I was making, I couldn't grow the account. That was always the problem, and it was a frustration for me. So yeah, and then I got made redundant in 2020. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go back full time, back to trading. And I'd been doing my journaling and I knew I was ready. And then, yeah, that's when everything just took off for me.
When it comes to the edge of the strategy,
yes.
What's like the average win rate in R&R?
So I'd say around 60, 65%. It can range anywhere from 50 to as high as 70%. RRs are pretty low. So I start from 1 to 1.77. People always ask me why I'd use 1 to 1.77. It's just based on my back testing going back to 2019, based on my candlestick method. When I enter, you can go into drawdown, but that 1 to 1.77 often can contain those spikes before going to targets. So yeah, RR is 1 to 1 to 1 to 2, but it can on the big swings. So I have microstructures and macrostructures. So my big swings are on macrostructures. Those can be as high as 1 to 4, 1 to 5 RR. But I'd say average 1 to 1, 1 to 2.
Okay, so you're a swing trader.
Mm-hmm. A 4-hour swing trader.
Have you always been a swing trader?
No, I used to trade 15-minute and the hourly. So when I was coming up with this strategy from like 2015 to let's say 2019, I was experimenting on the 15-minute charts and the hourly charts. And then I found the 4-hour charts were by far the most technical on the euro dollar. So I always say euro dollar, it moves in structures, in patterns that repeat. Obviously, history doesn't repeat exactly, it rhymes, but those structures at their principle, they are the same. So I've managed to create a list of microstructures and a couple of macrostructures that can explain every single move on the euro dollar. So if you were to look at my chart, it's labeled going back to 2019. There's no gaps in the chart. So everything's like micro A, micro B, micro C. It's a 3-wave swing move. And then my job is to identify the end of that swing and target either the low of the micro B, a 50 to 61.8% retracement, or 100% reversal. Those are always my 3 targets. So if you see like my trades, I can get 50 pip wins, 100 pip, 150 pip wins quite regularly. And it's just 1 to 2 trades a week on average, 6 to 8 trades a month.
Do you think that switching to swing trading at all helped with
big time. 100%. Yeah, I always advise people to zoom out. And I think the stats that are coming out from prop firms now, they have all this data, right? And they're backing up what I've been preaching for a good number of years now. The traders that are consistently profitable, they're usually not over trading. So yeah, I think scalpers can over trade. Like I don't do 10, 20 trades a day. So I always advise people trade less and zoom out, clear the noise. Don't use lagging indicators. Like I don't use any, stochastics, RSI, none of that stuff. It's just literally a candlestick chart. And I have some lines on there, my fibs and my ABC labels.
Do you use any fundamentals in
the
trade? Not at all.
No.
Strictly technical.
Yeah.
You don't look at any data releases.
I'm aware of the data releases. So if I have to be in a position, be it the day before or 2 days before, and if I have room on it, I'll stay in it. And often what I'll find is if my technical analysis is sound, then the news will drive price to my target. So I always actually say on my time frame, news follows charts. I don't say charts follows news. I've always said news follows the charts, and some people think I'm crazy. Some people, they love it and they agree.
That's the beauty of the industry.
No, you can make money anyway, right?
Yeah. I've seen professionals at the highest level argue both points.
Yeah.
Right. So I never argue with anybody because I've seen titans argue fundamentals versus technicals. So yeah, so that's very interesting take, because I had another guest that said, no, fundamentals is it, right?
Really? What time frame does he trade?
He's a swing trader. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's an interesting take, right?
I think if you trade the weekly and above, then definitely fundamentals. Because look, let's face it, we wouldn't have a chart to look at without fundamentals, right? So I'm aware of that, but I'm proof you don't need fundamentals using my strategy.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because after interviewing a few different traders, I've realized, and reading all the reading that I've done, I've realized that there are two variables that it sort of comes down to, like the relationship between the risk and reward. If you have the right proportion on either side,
yes,
that combination, you're going to be profitable, right? And the ability to absorb the losses, right? So if you have a 65% win rate,
yes,
or if it varies at times, this part of the skill, part of you having edge as an individual trader, is you being able to absorb those losses, right? And withstand the losses and keep trading until, you know, the probability lands in your favor, right? So whether you're a fundamental analyst and you lean on the side of fundamentals or technicals, I think one uniting point, or point that, you know, is common, right, amongst all traders, is that delicate dance.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. So before we get to props,
yeah,
you have a lot of experience. When I heard 20 years, I automatically
you thought I was
had
older,
respect
right?
for you.
Most people think I'll be a lot older as well, because I started. Yeah, because I started very young.
Yeah, you started very young. That's, it's great, right? Being that you made $1 million already, like from trading, you had it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you lost it. What would be your advice for the trader that's listening and they're just starting? Like if you were a guide and you could say, hey, avoid this.
Yes.
Do this. What would that be? What would be the roadmap to maybe their first withdrawal?
Yeah, so definitely start with demo. Once you have to have a strategy, you have to have data for 3 to 6 months. So once you're consistently profitable for a minimum 3 to 6 months of demo, then move to a personal account, then become consistently profitable on a real account for at least 3 to 6 months, preferably a year, because you need to see different types of markets. So like when I started, it was everything just went up. So I was hoodwinked, really, because Ben Bernanke was printing money, commodities, currencies, the stocks, gold, everything went up together. Incredible. So it didn't take much skill to make the money, right? Then when I experienced retracements or sideways markets, I kept getting chopped up and losing. So you need to go through different types of markets, and that only comes with time. I would say to people, there's no substitute for experience. You can't buy experience, and there's no shortcuts to experience. It has to be earned. So you need to put in that time. Most people, they think a few weeks or months, maybe even a year, they're going to be successful. No, it's going to take you. There's a few anomalies, like, you know, you had Arman on earlier, he's 20, but he's probably in the 0.01%.
Yeah, he's an outlier.
Most people watching this, you're going to need at least 3 to 5 years. It took me 10 years, but it shouldn't take anyone else 10 years. I'd say 5. So yeah, become profitable on demo, then personal. Doesn't matter if it's small, because I think you need to feel what it's like to trade real money. And maybe withdraw as well, just to give you appreciation for what real money feels like in your hand, right? If you're just trading virtual money, you're not going to appreciate it. Like me, even though I was trading real money, I never touched any of that money that I made. I think I withdrew. There was 50K I took out, and I treated everyone to a holiday to Dubai.
Really?
10 of us, we went to Dubai.
Wow.
So that was quite, I was reminiscing actually, because that was the last time I went. And then, you know, I've been doing really well in 2023, and now I'm there again, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy how it goes full circle.
Yeah.
And I made 3.2 million then, and now I'm 3.2 million funded. It's just crazy, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's mad. So that would be my advice. Don't even think about going to prop until you've been successful in demo for at least 3 to 6 months. And I'd say personal account for 6 to 12 months.
Some people say that you can substitute the personal with a small funded account. What is your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on the person and their risk appetite, their circumstances. Some people will appreciate that account and treat it respectfully. I speak to a lot of people that I have in my community. They don't have access to much capital. They want access to more capital, so they go the funded route. And yeah, just maybe bring the risk down, like 0.25%, 0.5% risk. But if you can, I would try and advise you to trade personal first. There may be bias there because that's how I started, but...
So let me ask you about building the playbook. You talked about refining your edge, and eventually you became a swing trader.
Yes.
For the trader that's beginning, what is your advice for them to find their edge?
Yes, I think much like me again, try and master one thing at a time. So explore whatever it is you want to explore. If you want to learn ICT, I only learned what ICT was this year. It wasn't around when I was about. I don't trade ICT, but if that's what you want to learn it. There's a lot of noise as well. So when it comes to like courses and finding a mentor, you need to find the right person, look at the reviews, because a lot of it can just be repackaged stuff that you can find for free, and there's a lot of scammers out there, so you need to do your homework. You can't complain if you get scammed. You're responsible. Do your homework, but just master one thing at a time and then start adding, and then you may start stripping back like I did. So I learned fibs, then I learned Elliott wave, then I learned tram lines. In case anyone's wondering what tram lines are, it's different to trend lines. So tram lines are where it's a very rules-based line that I draw from the start of this 3-wave swing move to the low of micro A. And then if it breaks below there, I have different rules that then tell me whether to enter or exit a trade, etc., etc. So yeah, whatever it is you want to learn it, master it. Don't just learn it half-baked and then say, oh, this didn't work this week, or I had a few losses, now I'm going to go to Wyckoff, and now I'm going to go to ICT, now I'm going to go to SMC. Learn one thing. It's like with any job, you have to master one thing, then add another thing, then try and master that. But people don't want to accept that it's going to take time, I feel.
So that's why they're hopping from one to another.
Yeah, they're looking for the perfect strategy.
What's the difference between sampling different strategies and hopping from different strategies? Is there a difference? Because it's like people may sample scalping, may sample intraday, may sample swing trading to sort of get a feel for what they have an affinity for, what they lean towards, right? Yeah. So how can you determine the difference?
I would say at least you need to spend 3 months, right, on each one before you know if it's for you or not. Also, at the end of the day, trading's all about edge, right? So you need to know over a large series of trades, are you profitable or not? What's your average RR? What's your win rate? So if you don't even have that data, then why are you moving in the first place? Like, you can't really judge it, can you? If you don't have those metrics and those statistics.
Powerful point.
So until you have those stats, like, why are you hopping? I mean, all right, if it doesn't suit you, like your structure that you have to your day, maybe you work a job, you have kids, then yeah, change your session, change your time frame. But the strategy itself, you have to give it time and you have to have that data. Otherwise, how can you ever judge anything without data? Most people, they don't have data.
Yeah. How do you get the data? Is it just back testing, or do you have to have an element of forward testing as well?
Yeah, so I don't back test using like the traditional way. People use software and they'll go and back test. I just manually back test with my strategy that I've refined.
Yeah, same
so,
here.
Yeah, so I go back and label the charts, and then I see, oh, how did it play out? And then every single time that particular type of structure occurred, I screenshot that chart, I put it into Microsoft Word, I put the date that it occurred, and then I have bullet points underneath. So it's actually sentences and a chart. Whereas a lot of back testing for people is like mathematical, right? So I'm not a coder, and I don't really, I don't look into that.
You don't have any automated back testing script.
Exactly. I don't know anything about that kind
here.
Of stuff. Like, I don't even actually know what forward testing means. I'm just testing it then in real live trading, right?
It's just demo. Like forward testing would be demo paper trading.
Okay.
Yeah. Before live testing, like live trading.
No, I would just do the journaling and then just apply it live. But I make sure I've gone back 4 years, 5 years, that I'm well versed. So that's why I say I'm always referring back to the journal, because that gives me my journal is my playbook. Yeah. So that tells me my entry, where my invalidation level would be. If it breaks this structure, what can I expect? And then I have a playbook of, A, B, C scenario can happen. So every evening I'm spending at least an hour labeling my charts and looking at my journal and planning for the next day. And then on the weekends, that's where I get better. I say you get better as a trader, not when you're trading, but when the markets are closed.
Yeah, I like that point.
Yeah.
So what do you say to the new trader who says, I don't have time? I mean, you've been trading 20 years and you're still putting in that work.
Yeah.
What do you say to the person that says, I don't have time to do it?
And trading's not for you. You find another job.
That's straightforward.
Yeah, like if you're just going to follow other people, you have to put in the work, right? To master anything, to become an engineer, 7-8 years, doctor, 7 years, dentist, 7 years. Why do you think you can go into trading and be successful in a month or two? I mentor a few students, and I only take them on because they all say to me, I don't even tell them, they say to me, Raihan, I know this is going to be a journey of years. I'm not going to mentor them for years. I only need maybe 15 to 20 hours with them. I can teach you my strategy. But like I always say, difference between, like my driving instructor always said this to me, right? When I learned to drive, he said the difference between learning to drive and passing your test is this much. Difference between passing your driving test and becoming experienced is this much.
Yeah.
And that's the bit you can't buy. You can't cheat that, right?
Yeah.
You have to give it the time.
Have you noticed any things that could help speed up the process?
Yeah,
for
so I
trading?
do advise get a mentor.
Okay.
That will definitely cut the time in half. The resource, follow people that are well known and trustworthy, that are authentic on Twitter, for example. Are they successful? Are they showing payouts? Are they consistent? You know, there's very few, like I've treated Twitter since my prop journey as like a diary, me documenting my journey. So are they transparent? Do they have payouts? Have they been on a leaderboard or not? Some people think, like, I don't know, like I think about football, right? You can be a football manager, but you don't have to have played football, but you can be a good football manager. But I think in trading, I think it's different. I think you have to have trodden that path that your students are going to tread. You have to have traded, you have to have lost money, you have to have made money, you have to have gone through that journey. Because otherwise, how can you guide them when they go through these times, right? So I've trodden that path that my students are treading, and everyone watching this is treading. I've been there, I've done it. So that's why I started Twitter in 2021, 2 years before I even started prop. I was just posting my charts all before the targets, no hindsight nonsense, like what most people post. And that's how I earned my reputation.
Yeah.
And I built a following to like eight or 10,000 even before props. And then with props, obviously, it exploded.
Yeah,
So
that credibility.
yeah, there's no shortcuts.
So you trade EU.
Yeah.
And do you use the DXY charting, like any
No, so that's another
correlation
thing.
analysis?
No correlations, because they don't always hold, do they? So I have so many people in my community. So I have a Telegram group where we speak every day, right? And we post Euro USD, our setups and analysis. And most of them do look at DXY. So I've come to a point where it's so simplified. I literally just need Euro USD price action and I can be very accurate. So again, like no fundamentals, no DXY. Because yeah, people say it's inverse, because the Euro USD makes up the majority of that DXY basket, doesn't it? So it does have an effect on it. So if it gives you an edge, use it. Like I've got traders that are really good, trade ICT. He's a killer trader, man, sniper trader. Like he'll get in on a really low time frame entry and he can swing it for days. And it would turn from like 10, 15 pip stop to like 100, 200 pip reward. Like it's crazy. So if DXY helps you, use it. Me personally, I don't use it. It's the same thing with news releases. A lot of people, they focus on the macros, the news releases. They say, oh, well, this was USD positive news. So why did the euro go up? Euro dollar should go down. I'm like, well, there it is. There's your proof, right? You need to follow the technicals. That's what I believe anyway.
You obviously have a lot of experience. Tell me how important it is to understand probabilities. Do you feel that that's important when it comes to trading and being able to trade through losses?
Yeah, so like I have there's a table, isn't there, that shows you like different RRs and different win rates, a series of losses you can expect to have, right? And I think for 60, even if you have a 65% win rate, you can expect to have a series of like 3, 4, 5 losses in a row. It's going to happen. So first of all, I tell everyone you have to accept that you're going to have a period of losses. It happened to me in September when I lost all my funding. So I lost all my funding in September before I gained it back, but we can go into that after. I don't change anything in terms of the strategy because I have belief in my edge, in the consistency of it, and that's only gained through the back testing and the journaling. I have brought my risk down because I used to enter 2% risk per trade to start off with off the bat, because I'm only in like 1 or 2 trades a week. So it didn't really ever make sense for me to trade 0.25% or 0.5% because I just wouldn't make much money, right?
So I think when I think about losses, you talked about like losing the accounts. I think about probability losses. I sort of label them as probability losses, execution errors, or maybe like analysis errors.
Yeah.
Or the market changing.
Mm-hmm.
So was this a case of the market changing? Because you said you have like 4 or 5 years of back testing.
Yeah.
So was there just a shift in the market behavior? Your confluences, they didn't align or they didn't play out? Or was there something personal?
No, very good question. So this is why I always say I'm constantly refining the journal, making adjustments, and then building upon it. So I literally every week I still learn something new now.
Wow.
There's little intricacies.
Yeah.
So that's why I refer back to the principles. So when I find myself not being able to predict what's going to happen or why did this play out this way, I go back to the principles and then usually it makes sense. If you just go back to the principles, strip it back, then everything will start to make sense. It's hard to explain because it's very individual to my strategy. But I say this to my students. They're like, oh, Raihan, like you had a few losses recently. What did you add to your journal? They ask me straight away, what did you find out? And then they say, can you take me through it? Because I've already figured out what happened and what I need to change for the next time. And what was different this time? Why wasn't it exactly the same as the previous time that structure occurred? And I say, oh, well, this broke the micro B and like the corrective candle low. And then it came up and it held that resistance. And then you get in a market sell. Like, I go into crazy detail, right? Because like I say, markets rhyme. They don't repeat, they rhyme.
They
like
don't repeat, they rhyme. I
yeah.
love that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I just refine and get better. And it's those little changes over the last 3 years compounded that have literally transformed my performance. Like I'm unrecognizable as a trader from 2022. In 2022, I was unrecognizable from 2021. So this year by far is my best year ever, and it's the year that I was discovered props, and I've been able to leverage it, and like people have seen my results, you know, because multiple leaderboards, multiple payouts from multiple firms. It's not one hit or two hit wonders from like one firm. Like you see these massive 160k payout. Yeah, it's huge, but is he consistent? Is he going to be able to do that for the rest of his life?
Right.
Is he going to lose that account now? I'm able to repeat it. So that's the key.
Yeah, you remind me of the book Atomic Habits, when he says that if you get better 1% every day, you'll be 37 times better at the end of the year.
I saw this on Twitter recently. I was like, that's me.
That sounds like you.
That's me. That's exactly why I am where I am now.
So when you go about this process of journaling, what exactly are you looking for?
So I have a list of microstructures. So there's about 7 or 8 different types of microstructure. They're all 3-wave swing moves. So everything I trade is a 3-wave swing move, and it's about identifying that swing. And then so my edge is in trailing the candlestick structure. That's my edge. So where do I label the A and the micro B? That's what I teach to my students. Okay. There's different rules, and I have different degrees of retracement that determine where you label those letters. So like a lot of people, so this was one of the ways I wanted to be objective when I set out developing the strategy. Like most people don't even know the difference. Like if I say to you, what is a retracement? How can you define it?
There's so many.
Yeah, but in terms of candlesticks, can you define it?
In terms of candlesticks,
yeah, like when we retrace, so we've gone up and then we retrace. What would you say a retracement is? A 1 red candle, 2 red candles, 5?
That's it. It could be subjective.
Exactly. So I have different degrees of retracement. So if it's one red candlestick followed by a wick below, but a green candle to a new high, that's a second degree. 2 red candles is a first degree. I have an inside red candle is a third degree, and then an outside retracement candle would be a fourth degree. So I have 4 degrees of retracement, and they determine how I trail. So it's very detailed, and like I say, there's literally no one that trades this way, which is why I believe my edge is so good.
There's some people that preach trading is simple. Do you think that they're really making money, or maybe that's marketing? Do you think the nuances are necessary?
100% the nuances are necessary. If you're trading like 99% of people are, why do you think you're going to have results that are different to 99% of people? You're just going to be average, right? Where's your edge? If everyone's learning ICT, like the same entry models or whatever it is, why do you think you're going to have, your performance is going to be better than anyone else? So that, I think, again, that if I come back to my edge, I don't trade like anyone else. Yeah. So that's why I believe, I am different. And I think the proof's in the pudding, 6 months of prop trading, 100,000 in 7 weeks. This last 5 weeks, almost, I think, $100,000 again across 3.25 million funded. Leaderboards on my funded FX, funded engineer. Loads of leaderboards, man. It's consistent, right?
Yeah.
I don't think many people can say that.
So about like 200K this year?
Yeah, in 6 months.
In 6 months, 200K in 6 months.
Yeah, I got into prop trading in May. So I started getting payouts from July.
Incredible.
July, August was 105K. That's with the refunds. So 7 weeks. And then I lost all my funding in September. And then this is proof again that wasn't a fluke, which you can't fluke multiple payouts anyway, and passing challenges and getting payouts. You can't fluke that because you got to get 13%, right? 8 and 5, then you got to get a payout. Very few people can do that. And I did it 2-3 times across every firm. But because I was risking 2%, I had a string of losses, like 6 or 7 losses in a row. So I hit the max daily drawdown, 10%. Okay, but then I did it again.
Let's go back to May.
Yeah.
Let's talk about props now.
Yeah.
So tell me about how you approached the challenges.
So yeah, it was very new to me. So first I thought props were a scam.
Really?
Yeah, because I used to see people on Twitter posting these payouts. And I was like, this looks too good to be true, man. Because at the time, my very limit, the thing that was restricting me was access to capital. I was like, wow, you put something like this in my hands, I'm a dangerous man.
Wow.
That's how I felt. Yeah, I was like, we're about to rob the bank.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like the guys that I know that 10 plus years,
Yeah.
they all said the same. Like,
Did they?
maybe they were like trading 10, 12 years and they saw props and they were like, wow, I'm going to make a lot of money from this. So it's interesting to hear you say that.
Yeah, so I saw like Paladin and these well-known guys getting payouts. I was like, okay, this must be real then, because I respected these guys. I knew these guys were genuine. And then people like Kyle, Jade Cap, I was like, wow, I got to get into this space, man. Like what? I knew people that had been doing it since COVID, a year, 2 years, 3 years. I was like, I'm missing out.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So I started off, actually, I think the first few challenges were free because I did giveaways because I had a presence. The firms would offer me free challenge in exchange for doing a giveaway for them because it would give them publicity. So it was like 15K, there was a 25K. I remember I started with, very small, and I passed them. And then I got confidence. So it was all new to me. I'd never used MT4, MT5. In the UK, we trade spread bet or CFDs, and it's usually within a broker platform. Okay. So that was all new to me, MT4, MT5, props. So I started with the small challenges. Then when I passed those, I was like, okay, I'm going to start buying my own. So I started with like 25K, 50Ks, 100K, passed those, and then I started going to 100, 200, and then at the very end, so like June, I did like a couple of 400Ks.
So you came in post unlimited time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
FTMO had a limit at the time.
At the time, okay. And then how much were you risking on like per trade?
Yeah, 2%.
2%.
And I passed all the challenges. Yeah.
How many trades did it take you?
Yeah, so on average, that can vary the number of trades because it depends on what the market gives me. So some challenges, phase one could be 4 or 5 swing trades. Some could be 10 or 15. Time-wise, from starting the challenge to becoming funded, I would say 4 to 6 weeks. And even to pay out could be 6 weeks from starting the challenge to first payout. But if it takes me 6 weeks, then obviously before payout, it'd be like 8 weeks if you wait 2 weeks for the payout. So usually within 8 weeks, I've passed the challenge and had a payout.
How many trades do you normally take per week, like if you're swing trading? Yeah,
so I have all these years in my group, fully transparent, all my trades journaled there. So for 2023, it's an average of 6 to 8 trades a month. So you could say 1.5 trades a week if you want the mean average.
Yeah, so 6 to 8. And then you're risking about 2%. So
now I've bought it,
it down.
Because I lost all that funding after getting paid 100K. September, I went back to drawing board as I always do, like we spoke about, and then another change. So I had the mindset, okay, this time I'm not going to be in it to get like the biggest payouts I can get. This time it's all about scaling capital and bringing the risk down and getting consistent payouts and reaching scaling programs, and it's worked, So I bought the risk entry is 1%, but if I'm confident, I do go to 2%, but it's in 2%, 1% trades. Okay. Whereas before I was risking 2% off the bat. And then sometimes I would maybe even add another 1%. But now I'm starting with 1%. And then if I'm confident, I'll go to 2%. Okay.
Sort of like a scale in. You'll scale in another percentage once it goes your way?
Or maybe even straight away at a very similar price, depending on how I feel.
Plus, like made from A to A plus, like the quality is higher.
Exactly. So if it's A plus, then I'll do 2 1% positions. Like macro structures are more high probability to micro structures. So if it's a higher probability trade, then I might load up a little bit more because I know I've got 200, 300, 400 pip target potentially.
Okay. And then are you joining these challenges by trade copier?
Oh yes, that's another thing. I'd never used a trade copier before. So when I first started in May, I was tearing my hair out because I was so used to 15 years trading one account. I was like, oh my God, this is driving me crazy because I had like 6, 7, 8, 10 accounts. I can't remember. And I was executing manually.
Across 6 to 7 accounts?
Yeah, so a lot of that money, that 100K, I made manually.
Wow.
There was no trade copier.
That's interesting. Yeah. I think Pasquale said he did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, manual. But then I started using Traders Connect. And now, I wouldn't not use a trade copier. Yeah. So Traders Connect has been a lifesaver. Saved me pulling out my hair.
Yeah. So, all right. So for the trader that's just starting, what's the roadmap to first payout?
Yeah, start small. Start with, like I said, make sure you're at least profitable 3 to 6 months on a demo. Also, if you want to go into it full time, don't do it unless you've got 12 months of savings. That's another thing. If anyone wants to quit their job and do this, don't. try and keep your job until you know you've got at least 1 year, 2 years of data, and have 12 months of emergency living expenses there, because expect not to make any money. That's if you want to do it full time. In terms of prop, the road to first payout, you have to have an edge. You have to, have a whole trading system, right? You must know what you're going to do in every single type of market. If it's up, if it's down, if it's sideways, can you handle 3 or 4 losses in a row, or are you going to go on tilt? Are you going to go back and stick to your rules? Like me, when I make losses, I get in drawdown all the time. It's something I want to start doing on Twitter. I want to start posting my equity curves of my challenges, just to show that many times I go negative, -5, 4, 5, 6, even 7, 8%. But then I have come back and hit the profit target. So I just want to show people that if you do go into drawdown, don't change anything.
This is an important part right here.
Yeah.
I just want you to repeat that.
Yeah, if you go into drawdown, do not change your trading style. Stay consistent. I keep everything the same. If I'm very close to max drawdown, then obviously I'll bring the risk down, but nothing else changes.
How close do you have to get to bring the risk down?
I'd say 8%.
When you were risking 2%, you had 4 trades until you would start to reduce the risk.
It's a trailing system.
It's a trailing system.
I enter with 1 to 1.77 RR, but if it gives me a reversal signal before it hits that, like my target, I might get out with 1 to 1.
Is it an automated trading trailing, or is it manual trailing?
It's all based on candlestick structure. So
like
my
that.
labeling system, my A, my B, based on the structure, I know where to exit.
I like that. So were you able to design that exiting system, right? Did you design that based on back testing?
Yes.
Okay.
On confirmation candlesticks, and it's only between set hours. There's many criteria that have to be hit. So all my participation hour entries are between 6 a.m. London and 6 p.m. London time. So I don't trade after 6 p.m. London time to 6 a.m.
But the data says you don't need to.
No, exactly. It's not because I choose to. The swing trades confirms during those hours.
Wow, that level of detail, I think in the beginning, so far away, like when it comes to new traders.
Yeah, and like the last 2 years has been focusing on the exiting, because that's the hard part.
That is the hard part.
That's way harder.
And so you were able to confirm that only through back testing. Do you only stick to this trailing stop system, or do you have like what about the target? Is there a target? Like, do you take profit?
So I have predefined targets.
Okay.
So I was either targeting the micro B, the low of the micro B wave. So I have A, B, so that's the low, and then C, swing high. So I'll be targeting the low of the micro B, or a 50 to 61.8 retracement if it's a particular type of macro structure, which is 2 microstructures combined, or 100% reversal. So if it hits that minimum target, there's you can exit half. Depends on your risk appetite. So you can take partials and you can trail the rest. Because often, like, I've held to target, I make good money, but if I'd have followed my candlestick trailing, so this is the beauty of the trailing method, I would have gained another 100, 200 pips. What you feel comfortable with, because you might be happy, you may have made like 2 or 3%. So then I'm like, do I want to risk it retracing on me 50% to just gain like maybe another couple of percent? So you might just take all the profits there, 50%, and then trail the rest. Totally depends on you as a person. Okay. So I think that's something I'm still working on. I would like to try and stay in these trades longer, actually, because I would, based on back testing, like my returns would be way higher.
You mentioned something. You said this is something I'm still working on. What's the next level for Rayhan?
It's to scale up.
Scale up the capital. So you talk about input times leverage equals output. So the input is your skill.
Yes.
The leverage is the capital.
Exactly.
And you have greater output.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all. That's your focus for maybe 2024 is to scale up those accounts.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in such a privileged position right now in the retail trading industry to be able to have that opportunity. Like when I started, I remember applying to a prop firm and they laughed at me. They said, I sent them my statements of when I made the 3 million. They said, oh, we don't care about this. Like we want to see a 3-year track record. Now you can get capital in like a day. Some people pass the challenge in a day, right? I mean, this is the golden age for retail traders. Please appreciate what you have right now. Respect the industry. I believe the prop industry, I'm bullish on the prop industry. I believe it will not only survive, it will thrive. It's only going to get bigger. The demographics support this industry growing. You know, that if you look at the developing world, Africa, Asia, there's more people are getting richer. As they get richer, more and more people are going to come into retail trading, right? Because there's nothing else in the world that you can leverage like trading. With respect to working by yourself, like, yeah, there's loads of businesses you can do where you can make hundreds of thousands a month or millions a month, but usually involves employees, right? You have to have a workforce that works for you. I don't know any other industry in the world where you can work on your own and make 100K a month or 50K a month.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Literally, you just need like a computer and internet connection, right? And you
Yeah.
need the knowledge.
Yeah.
Scale up props. Did you ask what my
Yeah.
goals were?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a couple of business meetings in Dubai. So that's probably, I went for networking and it was like holiday and business, right? And it all came through Twitter, by the way. This is why I say Twitter's the greatest networking platform in the world.
Yeah.
So they were friends of mine, like people that I've been talking to a year before I flew out to Dubai. So they're in my community groups. So one of them, he manages a fund in Dubai. So the office is opposite the Burj Khalifa. I'm doing a trial for him right now. So I think I'm like almost 2 months in. So I think it's maybe a 3-month trial, then they'll give me an allocation. There was another guy I spoke to. We had 2 meetings. He wants me to trade his capital. His pension is withdrawn. And he wants me to trade that. It's like over 7 figures. And then there'll be salaries as well involved. Prop, 3.2 million funded. I think right now you could probably 4 or 5 million seems to be the limit. But I think from the conversations I'm having with people, I think over the next few years it will be possible to scale to 10 million. That's what I'm hearing based on the existing companies solidifying and being sustainable and new firms coming in. Like, don't get me wrong, don't go with any firm. But if you go with the right firms and the ones that have stood the test of time, and I think over the years, you will be able to scale to like 10 mil, which would be crazy. So yeah, there's prop firms, private capital, with Dan as well. I think you just interviewed before, doing a trial with him and Kyle for a fund. I think that will involve a salary. So look, that's like 3-4 ways I've scaled up. 4 incomes there, and then I have my trading room, which has grown massively this year, where I post my trade ideas and chart analysis, and we have over 200 active monthly subscribers.
Oh, excellent.
So it's like, and it's literally just one skill, the same chart, the same trades across everything.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible, man. So I believe there are maybe 3 traders that are watching this, right? One is the struggling trader.
Yeah.
They haven't made any money. They're putting money in, haven't saw any return. Net negative. What would be your advice to them?
Get a mentor, choose the right mentor, change something in what you're doing. Don't do the same thing, because that's definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. That's what I did for like almost 10 years. Don't do that. Change something. Bring your position sizing down. Explore a different strategy. If you can't make that one work, get a good mentor. Look at their reviews. Go to Trustpilot. Look at their reviews. See that other students who have taken their course are profitable now. See what they're saying. You know, like a few of my students, they've got funded and they've been on the leaderboards. Like me and one of my students were on the leaderboard at the same time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I was like 3rd and he was 7th. He got like 7K or something. He's from Germany.
It's beautiful.
Joaquin, shout out to you.
Shout out to Joaquin.
Yeah. See, are they getting results? What are they saying? And is it enough people that are saying that? And make sure they have receipts. Do they have payouts, or can they show a track record? Another thing I'm doing is the Darwin X Zero as well. So I want to build that track record. So that's another avenue of income. So yeah, to the failing trader, give it time, journal, bring your position sizing down, have belief in yourself, because look, it took me like 10 years to become profitable. Don't lose faith. And no one else they may not believe in you, but as long as you have the belief in yourself, that's what matters. I make a big point of that, because I could have given up 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
I had to go against everyone to get to where I am now. And I had to take myself out of that toxic environment. So if you've got any negativity in your life that's hampering you, move out of that if you really want to truly succeed in trading.
Yeah, it's been inspirational, man.
Inspirational.
You. So then the guy that he has payouts, but he blows accounts every so often. After interviewing different traders and being, around different traders, I realized that some people have sort of mastered the reset, the ability to reset, right? So maybe the trader that's there, they say, okay, I can reset, I can start up another challenge.
Yeah.
If I go in a drawdown, with a funded account, I'll just let it go and I'll reset, right? So maybe this guy, he knows that he won't be able to trade long-term like this, because maybe even the props may actually kind of come down on that type of training, like churning accounts, right?
Risky trading.
Yeah, the risky trading, right?
Okay.
Or maybe not even risky trading. Let's say he has an edge maybe 6 months out of the year.
Okay.
So during maybe 6 months, he's profitable.
Yeah.
But there's another 6. It's not proportionate, but you understand what I mean? Like another 6, maybe the market's changed a little bit. He hasn't grown or matured to make the changes or journal as you do, right? How does he get out of this cycle of winning and then losing accounts, and then winning and then losing accounts?
So, yeah, I mean, if he definitely knows that there's a particular type of market or period of the year where he's unprofitable, then maybe just not trade, right? That's the first thing. Or come up with a strategy, which is what I do, because us traders, we like to trade all the time, right? We don't want to be sitting on our hands. Come up with a strategy that can suit different types of markets. So, like my strategy, I can trade it in the summer doldrums when it's slow. I had my best year in August, actually. It was September that I lost my funding this year. Normally people have a bad losing run in August. So refine, again, I'm always going to come back to this, come back to the journal. What's changed in the markets during that losing period? Or are you doing something differently? If you're not doing something differently and it is the market that's different, then definitely you need a strategy to cope with that type of market. And also during that period, maybe bring your risk down. Like now, Christmas is coming, right? The last 2 weeks are going to be low volume, thin liquidity. You're going to have sudden spikes up and down. It's going to be mad. So bring your risk down. Maybe bring it down to 0.25%, 0.5% if you want to be active. Ideally, maybe not trade. Because I always say there's another trade around the corner. That's the beauty with...
There's another trade around the corner.
There's always another trade around the corner with Forex markets. That's why I trade Euro USD. And I say Forex is the most forgiving asset class there is, I think, because if you miss a trade or you lose a trade, more than likely within that same week, there's going to be a same trade. Whereas you might not be able to say that for other asset classes. So yeah, if you go into losing runs, you have to identify what is it that's causing you to have that losing run. I mean, if it's psychology or risk management and you're going on tilt or, you're trying to flip the accounts, then yeah, that's not sustainable. You have to do what I did, bring your risk down, refine the edge, journal, back test, and then trade it live and be consistent over the long run. Accept you're going to have a series of losses and then just move forward from there.
So you mentioned something, the journaling. I find that people just have trouble with it, have trouble committing to it. Why do you think so?
I think because you have to truly reflect on yourself. Your journal's a reflection of the inside of you, right? And you're going to look at it and you're going to realize the stupid mistakes you did, the impulsive behaviors you had, and you'll be like, why did I do that? Why did I do this? So people, they want to act in the moment. They want to be impulsive. That was my problem for many years. But trust me, journaling will force you to reflect on yourself like nothing else can. And if you just give it the time and you're consistent with it, within 6 months, you'll be a transformed trader. I promise you. Please journal. You have to journal because it's those little gains, even though you may not see them at the time, they compound. And after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, I promise you'll be unrecognizable.
What about, this is the third trader. They want to go from good to great.
Yeah.
How does that trader go from good to great? Let's say good is they're getting consistent payouts and they want to scale. Consistency now, maybe sizing is what they are trying to work on, or complexity. What would be your advice there?
So I'd say that's probably the path I'm on right now. I want to, my goal has always been to be known, leave a legacy, be known as the best retail trader that ever lived. That's my goal. I have big ambitions.
I like that goal, yeah.
That's what I want to be known as.
Ambitions.
Yeah, I always had that ambition, right? For me, it's the small refinements now. Like I said to you, I add little things. So I see little intricacies and I'll try and devise a strategy that can incorporate those. So there is a point where you can become very simplified like me, but then you start adding stuff back in. But you have to see, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because it can be bad. But I think I'm at the stage now where I've mastered the USD to a level where I can start adding little intricacies back in and it'll improve my performance. So firstly, see, will adding improve? If not, keep it as you are. Going from good to great. Yeah, so can you hit scaling programs? Because very few people can. That's a challenge I've set myself. If I can have 3 or 4 months with prop firms and make the minimum 4% a month or whatever their goals are, I think that will qualify you as being a great trader, because very people, I think the stats that have come out from prop firms say, people can't hold accounts for more than 8-9 months. It's the longest, unless you're Arman. I think he's had his TFT one for a long time.
Yeah, he did.
So yeah, can you hold an account? Can you be consistent with it? I want to reach scaling programs, scale up that capital. There should be no limit. Can you handle those big numbers? I always say, I love big numbers, and that's down to what happened to me in 2010 as well. So big numbers don't scare me. There's a lot of traders I talk to. They're really good with, let's say, 100K, but they'll get a 200K or 400K and they can't pull the trigger anymore because they're very nervous. But yeah, if you're that good trader that is confident in your system and now you're just looking to scale up, then I think the difference between good and great is consistency.
It's consistency.
That's literally it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It can only be.
So you said something about people that aren't able to handle jumping from 100K to 200K. How can they overcome that doubt or that fear?
I think just
hesitation.
time in markets. For me, it's been time in markets. Also, I always say, you know, I've got thousands and thousands of hours screen time, live trading, thousands of hours back testing, journaling, like literally, and it all adds up. So what is the reason? Why are you nervous? I'd say they're probably inexperienced.
They're inexperienced.
Yeah, because if you've got the experience and you're confident in your strategy, you won't be nervous with bigger amounts. Everyone I know who is at the top of their game and has a predefined edge, if you know that works over a long subset, then there should literally be no block to it.
Do you think that at any point, any number, as you're scaling,
Yes.
that you'll hit sort of a psychological ceiling and you have to push through?
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. I don't know I haven't reached it yet, so I can't tell you what that number is. So 3 million's fine for me.
Yeah.
5 million I think would be fine. 10 million I think I'd be okay. Maybe like, I don't know, 20, 30.
Yeah.
It have to be something crazy.
Okay.
Because on 3 mil, right, if you make 1% a month, that's 30K. I can make 3 to 5% a month, so that's like 90K to 150K. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like I don't go out with the goal of, I'm going to make this amount of money. It's all just based, I go back to the process.
Goes back to
The
process.
profits, the return is just as a result of me executing my edge. So that's why, like, when I passed all the funds in end of October, the 3.25 million, I've only been trading November with the funded accounts and like half of December. And the 105K, like I didn't aim for 105K. I didn't even aim for 10K. I'm just, when the market gives me an opportunity, I'm taking it and I'm executing across my trade copier. And then whatever those numbers say, they say. Like,
What's your philosophy on payouts or your approach to taking payouts? Because I can imagine you're up 50K and you say, I need to take this money out. But it seems like you kept trading.
Yeah, I do.
To a certain point, right? So when do you take payouts?
When I've reached my target on the swing trade. So if I've made, like say I was 50K up across multiple accounts, but I know the trade still has another 50 pips to go, I don't want to give up that trade. I stay in it.
So that 100K was one trade?
No,
swing
it's
trade?
multiple swing trades across
swing trades.
on Euro USD
Okay.
on a trade copier.
Okay. It was one 100K payout, or those are multiple payouts?
No, multiple payouts.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so...
What's the average payout? What was the average payout? Around like 25K or something?
No, I'd say 10K.
10K. Okay.
Yeah, I've had a few 10s, a few 15, 17s. The biggest one was 29. I've posted them all. So yeah, they're usually... There was a few 2 or 3, but because I'm swing trading, they are usually 10, 15K.
Gotcha.
If you look at my historical payouts as well in July, August, I don't know, it was maybe 10 to 15 payouts for the 105K. So yeah, it's my wave trailing that'll keep me in the trade.
Okay.
So like, I don't want to exit a trade. I don't know if it's good or bad, but like, so I've got a good example. I was 10K, I'm max funded with FTMO, right? So I've got 400K with them. I've been beating myself up over this. I was 10 or 11K up on each one, so I would have had like a 20K payout this weekend. I let it come back. I just blew that up the wall. It came back because I got greedy and I was over trading, you could say. Maybe I should have stopped there. Looking back in hindsight, I was 10K up on each one. I would have had 20K across those two 200K accounts, and now it's come back to 200K, so I didn't get a payout this weekend.
Gotcha.
So I think it depends on your style of trading and also, your attitude to taking money. People would say, take it and then maybe just bank it and wait. But I'm so confident in my strategy and trailing, which is what I said is the beauty of it. I can forecast targets in advance that I will tend to hold and then take the payout, wait for the reset and then get back in again.
So I know some prop traders, they may line up 4 or 5 accounts and they'll take one trade with this account, sort of kind of like a cascade, like one trade on this account, another trade on another account. Do you do that, or is it all one trade?
Yeah, but because of the payouts and the resets, obviously they're not all in the exact same trade because there is going to be a bit of overlap. Let's say I've got 10 accounts, 7 of them might be in the same trade, but then it might be time to take 3 payouts on the other 3, and I will close it and take it, and then those 3 I will have to wait because I'm not going to get back into the trade when it's halfway through.
Yep.
So those 3 will be like off the radar. And then once I've closed the positions on the others, then I'll trade them all together again.
When a trader's trying to size up like prop accounts,
yes,
do you recommend they join all their accounts and use a trade copier as you do? Or do you recommend they go about it another way? Let's say I'm trying to reach 1 million in funding. Okay. Just outright, do you recommend me purchasing 1 million and trading it all together? At what point should I do that? Versus I pass 200K and then I pass another 200, then I pass another 200, right? What's your recommendation, just like roughly there when it comes to sizing
Some
up
people,
that way?
they have few small accounts and they're asking me, oh, I need about trade copies. They're asking for advice. They might have 2 or 3 accounts. It depends what's comfortable for you. Like, are you a scalper? Like, because scalpers, if you want to scalp across those 3 accounts, it's going to mean you're only aiming for, like, I don't know, 10 pips or whatever. You might lose your edge by the time you execute it manually on the second and the third account, right? Yeah. So some people can scalp and they use trade copiers. Some people are holding for longer targets like me and using a trade copier. I actually don't need the trade copier because I'm holding for a longer time. I can execute them manually. There'll be like 1 or 2, 3 minutes between each entry, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not going to lose my edge. So I'd say if you want to trade them all together and you want those maximum, you want to be getting returns on all of it, then use a trade copier. If you're happy to just trade one account, like I know a lot of people, they'll trade one account, make profit, then they move to the next, make profit, then move to the next, and maybe you don't need one. I think it's totally individual, to be honest.
What is Raihan's long game? You mentioned becoming one of the greatest retail traders to ever live. I love it. I love big goals.
Yeah.
Is that it, or do you have some other goals that you have in mind long term?
Can it be outside of trading or? Yeah, like I would like to get into other businesses eventually. So once I've made, very good amount of money so my next goal is to buy a house outright. So I have different savings pots at the moment. So I have like a savings pot for the house because I want to buy a house mortgage free. I have an investment pot, so I want to start investing. And then obviously I have my emergency fund pot, which I highly recommend everyone have. If I was to lose all my income, can I cover my basic expenses for the next 12 months? Goals are, I don't know, maybe start my own Forex hedge fund one day. That really gets my juices going. Yeah, I'd like to start a Forex hedge fund one day and go into property investment. I have a student that reached out to me. He's a music producer, quite well known. I think he produced, I forgot her name. She's from Little Mix. It's a famous girl band they broke America as well. He produced her last song. So he's gone into property development. He wants me to go in with him. So I need to have a meeting with him. So I'd say property and sizing up trading and maybe starting a hedge fund one day.
Man, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So last question for you. If we were to fast forward 10 years, 47.
47 years old.
Yeah, 47.
Yeah.
What would Raihan of 47 tell the Raihan now?
Oh, that's a good question. What would the Raihan in 10 years' time tell the Raihan now? Keep doing what you're doing because you're clearly on the right path. You've proven it over the last 3 to 4 years. And he would say, I'm proud of you because I am. I'm proud of myself, what I've done. And, although I had a very tumultuous and a really hard period of time with my family when I was at home, I'm starting to make amends for that. The relationships are healing. So, yeah, you'd pat on the back, Raihan. You did really well. And this was just the start, the beginning. Because, 2023 has been the year of transformation. And I'm only just starting, man.
Man, that's so touching, man.
Thank you.
Really, man.
Thank you.
It really touches me, man.
Yeah.
Because to hear the journey,
the
challenges that you had with the family, just they supported you, and then there was a breaking point.
There was.
And then you just got engaged as well. You said your fiance was there for a while.
She was there when I had nothing, man.
Mm.
Like I took her savings as well. She was one of the people I borrowed from. It led to so much. It was just so tumultuous, man. Like, she could easily have left me at any time. She did not have to stay with me.
Yeah. Why do you think she stayed?
She believed in me. She saw the belief that I had in myself, I think, and she knew I was a smart guy. So even if it wasn't in trading, and she knew I could rise up in a career. Yeah, I mean, she did so much for me, man. Like, she was the one who put, when I left home, I had nowhere to go. She had to pick me up. I had to go to an Airbnb. She paid for it for that first month. I mean, I'm indebted to her for the rest of my life. So I was able to finally start, pay her back, and she's very proud of me now. And she says, Raihan, even though I didn't believe in you and your parents didn't, look, you've proven us all wrong. Same with my mum. I took her out the other day for dinner. She was just like, I'm proud of you. You're engaged. Well done. Are you sure you can't lose it? I'm like, no, because it's prop. So I've had to explain how the prop model works on that. It's not my money. You can only use the amount that you put in a challenge. So obviously everyone's scarred by that. So they just want to make sure I can't lose it all again. But it's in my bank. It's safe. 2023 was a year of change. And yeah, I was able to buy a nice ring with my payouts from July, August. Surprise her. She had no clue. Everyone has said that's like the most amazing engagement we've ever seen in Greece. And planned it all from England before we went with the help of her sister and niece. Yeah, finally got engaged after 10 years.
Wow, man.
10 years of...
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Man, this is so touching. We can continue on for another hour or so, but unfortunately we have to go.
Okay.
So any last message to the listening audience?
Yeah, so what sticks with me is believe in yourself, don't give up, have a strategy and a plan, don't strategy hop, give it time, be committed, appreciate and respect the opportunities that we have now in this industry, because this is the golden age. Believe you me, I've been around long enough to know we've never had it this good. So please just take advantage of it, do things the right way, and even if it takes time, good things will come. I'm a prime example.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you prefer people reach out to you at?
Twitter. So my link's in my Twitter profile or X, and then all my links are there.
Okay, I will put those in the description.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raihan.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate being on.